everyone. Welcome to the Muscular Dystrophy Foundation of South Africa's YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and like our videos if you like the content. On 20 June, every year, it's the World FSHD Day. Now, that's short for facioscapulohumeral muscular dystrophy. That is the most difficult name I've heard of all the diseases, including the one that I've got. It's a tongue twister. But last year, Vilma Smith spoke to us and gave her experiences surrounding this disease. This year, we'll be speaking to George Landsberg. Welcome, George, and thank you for your time.
Thank you.
George, tell us a little bit about FSHD for those persons who haven't, who are going to watch this video and haven't heard of the disease. What is this disease all about? And then just maybe deal with your journey surrounding the diagnosis. If you can start with that, okay. I think that's a good place to start.
Yeah, I think I'm going to turn it slightly around in the sense that I'm not going to talk about the disease first. I'll first start with how I eventually found out that, listen, something is wrong. Born a normal kid, I realized that it affected me when I was in the region of about 7 or 8, when I could not lift my arms over shoulder height, or I had difficulty lifting my arms over shoulder height. We knew at the time that there was a familial problem, in the sense that my mother had it, her middle brother had it as well. So we knew that it was muscular dystrophy, or that they had muscular dystrophy. So the moment that, we identified that I had problems lifting my arms, immediately, the label was given, oh no, he's got muscular dystrophy as well. But I really never bothered too much about it. And when I say that, I was, like most kids and like most boys, I was a very active boy. So not that I was good in any particular sports, but I took part in everything, whether it was rugby, cricket, soccer, judo. I did whatever I could. Anything that I could do without having to study or without having to, revert to the books. So I realized, and over time, and I think because I was very active, I kept a lot of the symptoms at bay for a lot longer. My sisters, for instance, and they will most probably be watching the video as well, because they're also members of the society, and they all have it. We're 5 kids and we all have it. So I managed to keep it at bay a lot longer. And it was only, as I got older, in my 30s, I realized, okay, fine, there are additional things appearing that I'm struggling with. And in my 50s, things got worse. My right foot started dropping, and, the mobility in my shoulder, the scapular part, as you defined the FSHD, that became more prominent. I was, and I'm still quite a keen golfer. And I realized that in terms of my swing, I've got serious difficulty to get distance because I just don't have the power to get through. So, yeah, so it's a lifelong journey. But at the same time, it's also what you make of it. And, with what level of I don't want to call it trepidation, but whether you allow it to get you under. Because, I never really sat back. I realized, listen, it's something that I've got, but, it's not going to define me. I will define my own life. And, if I, in the process, I make mistakes, so be it. Sometimes I'm wondering whether I didn't possibly actively pursue these activities too hard, and that in the process I might have damaged some stuff. Who knows? But it is what it is. I'm 65 now, and I'm still mobile. I tend to fall a lot, but I'm still mobile.
Yeah, I mean that is to hear someone that's 65 and still mobile with these diseases is quite rare. But then again, with FSHD, it's not so rare. I mean, if you look at my disease, for instance, that's limb girdle muscular dystrophy, it would be very rare.
And interesting, talking about lymph girdle, because very often FSHD and lymph girdle are confused, and it can be misdiagnosed because they have very similar, some of these symptoms that come out in the process.
Yeah, the progression, I just wanted to hone in a little bit on the progression because it's important, and I guess that's why we do these interviews, or one reason why we do these interviews, is to let everyone tell their story in terms of their own progression. So you've now started a little bit. How many years, over how many years, more or less, did this progression take place? Some of these diseases are quite quick, and some of them are quite small, quite slow. So how many years, more or less?
Look, I would say possibly close to 60, because it was very, very slow, but progressive all the time. Like I said earlier, it started when I was in the region of about 7 or 8, when I could feel it in the shoulders. In my face, the facial part, it's been there all along. It's just that, you don't really do a lot of things that actually show that. In terms of the foot dropping, for instance, which is a very common one with FSHD. In my case, I think, there was the occasional incident where it started happening from the age of about 50. And over the last few years, it became, quite a problem, in the sense that I realize that I've got the problem and I don't want to fall. Therefore, I tend to walk a lot slower. So even though I'm mobile, and it takes a lot of effort, I have to lift my leg, my right knee a little bit higher to prevent the foot from hooking on something. If I, for instance, 2 weeks ago, I went to the Netherlands for an equipment exhibition. Now it's a big stand that you've got to walk, and it can get tiring. The other guys, they on and walking. I plan my route very carefully. I'm going to walk one stand, but I'm not going to come back and do that again. So,
George, that is something, when I was in my 20s, I was at varsity, and that's exactly, what I did. I had a drop foot walk, and I planned my route at varsity when I was there between the different classes very carefully. Because if you take the wrong route and you get stuck, you fall. And people might think you're drunk or something,
especially when you're at university, yeah.
Exactly. No, so no. I also want to find out how it affects, because when I spoke to you a few days ago, actually, you were in the Netherlands, and so that is, I was wondering how FSHD at this stage affects your life, and what can you do, the things you focus on, and the things that you just can't do. But it seems like you're still traveling. And from a work perspective, maybe just give us an idea of how it affected you and what you were able to achieve.
Yeah, in terms of my career, I've retired a couple of times. When I say that, I was fortunate in the sense that I ran a couple of very successful businesses over the years. And every time, when a business grows to a particular point, somebody comes along and they say, no, we want to buy you out. Then okay, now I'm retiring again. But it never lasts. And then I start something else. And, another couple of years later, you sell a business again or something like that. So I've done a couple of those. So I still am involved in business, and that's why I was over in the Netherlands. I'm still involved with business because I've been in management. It never really impacted on my functioning in that sense. The type of business that I'm in, though, is a work at height, and I've long given up on trying to, when I go with customers, to try and, climb up ladders and go up in machines with the guys. I just don't do that anymore. I let the staff do that. But I'm still active. I travel. Obviously, pre-COVID, we used to travel a lot more. Now it is not that often. And I can feel, when you get to airports and you've got to walk, because at this stage, I'm still fighting the assistance at airports. I'm still not doing that. So I kill myself. By the time I get into the plane, I'm done. And then I sleep for the rest of the flight, and the same with the way back. So I'm still trying to, as far as possible, to remain active, but within my limits, obviously. And as I said earlier, I still try and be active on this, on the golf course, for instance, as well. I'm not that competitive anymore. When I get close to the green, yes, then I can kill the guys. But so, getting off the tee, that's a bit of a problem. I just don't have the distance anymore.
But at least your handicap is not golf.
Well, it's both.
Yeah. I also played some golf in my, when I was younger, and I do remember it was definitely not a waste of a good walk. It was really, I really enjoyed it.
Yeah, so, but I limit the walks from the cart to the tee box and to the green. I cannot remember that I've walked a course in the last at least 15 years. So yeah, that's what golf carts are for. And I believe in job creation, help other people, sell golf carts. That's what it's all about.
No, I agree with you there. And I would like to understand, you're a successful businessman, you've been retired so many times, and I understand that. But how do you deal with the challenges that all of this brings? We've all got our ways, how we adapt it and how we deal, and our support structure. What would you say to anyone who's watching this and is really struggling? Because there's a lot of physical, emotional, and psychological stress that you have to go through with these diseases, and it differs from the different types of diseases. But how do you deal with it?
Yeah, in any business, it's about managing your resources. And in terms of managing your resources, you need to know what you've got and then basically optimally use that. And it's exactly the same with your body. You have to understand your limitations. You have to understand what you can and cannot do. But at the same time, I believe it's very important to allow yourself a little bit of stretch. And when I say stretch, you've got to basically challenge yourself to a certain extent. Yes, you're going to have times that you feel that, listen, you know what, I shouldn't have gotten up this morning. But it's about the challenge that every day brings. And I've got a very, demanding wife, she will tell me that, listen, you need to get out now. It's time you go and play golf again, or it's time that you become more active. So she's not going to allow me to sit back and just relax. She's actually the one that's pushing me, to keep on working every time but I think it's because I bugger when I sit around at home. That's what.
Yeah, we have to find. I mean, I'm also retired, and I've retired at a young age. But there's no ways that I can sit around and do nothing. You always find something to do. There's hobbies, and that's what I also want to ask you: do you find time for your hobbies? Or do
Oh
you have
yeah,
hobbies,
yeah.
or is your business your hobbies?
Well, I think to a large extent that is true, but at the same time, I'm involved with a lot of other things. You're involved with the community. I'm involved with our community policing forum. I still patrol with the rest of the guys. I'm involved with our industry associations. I'm the constitutional chairman of our Institute for Work at Height here in South Africa. So there's a lot of those type of things that I get involved in. Trustee on the estate where we live. I've got a house in Wilderness. So you get involved with all those things. And the reality is that the more things you've got to do, the more time you have to do it. It's one of those funny, it's not it doesn't gel with physics, but it's a reality. Time stretches when you use it well.
Yeah, and also what I found is a friend of mine, Eric Anderson, is also involved with the muscular dystrophy, has the saying that nature abhors a vacuum. And that means from his perspective is you may think that you've retired, but there will always be, when you have skills, you will always gravitate towards using those skills. And I find that now, also as a trustee at the body corporate where I stay, there's a lot of legal issues. And I now have the luxury of not overdoing things, not overworking myself, but I still have those skills that I can give to the community, and that makes all the difference.
Yeah, and at the same time, I have time for all the fun things. I've got
Yes.
2 grandkids, and it's both boys. 5 and almost 6. The one will be 6 next month, and they are demanding in their own right. So and they don't realize that. Listen, when Grandpa is on the lawn, playing on the lawn with them, that you shouldn't tackle the old man. So they come in and sweep me off my feet, and I fall down and breathless. But that's what it's all about. They don't realize that it is difficult, and it's not fun falling, but
No.
it is what it is, and at least you've got the time to spend with them.
You have to learn to fall. That's what I've learned. When I was still mobile and not in the wheelchair, I found very ingenious ways of falling.
Yeah, sometimes less than delicate, but yeah.
Yeah. Treatment, I always ask questions about treatment, but now the treatment side is more in a broad sense. So you have now told us that you don't really have mobility issues, or mobility aids, sorry, that you don't really use mobility aids. Is there any treatment that you use, other exercises that you do that maybe assist you? Do you do physiotherapy, or do you do your own exercises?
Up until just before it started getting so cold, I've got a stationary bike. So I would like to say that I like doing it, but my wife will immediately correct me and say that no, you gravitate away from it. But yeah, I like cycling. I like keeping myself busy, but I don't have any particular training regimen. I've got small weights that I play around with, but nothing serious. It's not about building muscle or anything like that. I'm just trying to keep busy. Apart from that, when we talk about mobility aids, the only aid that I've got a couple of sticks stuck all over. So I've got one in the car, one in the boot, one in this house, one at that place. So if I realize that, listen, I've got to walk over uneven ground, for instance, like in the Netherlands, the last 2 weeks, I was walking with my stick because of the cobblestones that they've got. And then it becomes a problem because, every time, just, 1 centimeter, a stone sticks out over the others, then you can fall.
Yeah.
So I've used my stick extensively while I was away. But since I came back, I think I've only used it twice. And it's only when you realize, okay, fine, I'm going to have to walk maybe 400 or 500 meters. If it's something close around the house, I don't even use it.
Yeah.
But then again, my sisters, most of them have got the Bs, and the normal mobility is, what do you call it, vehicles and the like.
Yes. Yes. Yeah. I mean, I remember I also had a kitty. That's what we call it, a kitty, but it was one of those canes, or a cane with a knife inside, so you could could unscrew the knife. And
I know exactly what you're talking about. But by the way, can I tell you, you're not supposed to travel with that.
I'm sure that was in the 90s. I mean, I'm sure 2023 you will get searched at an airport if you take those things.
Yeah, for sure.
I also want to when your accessibility is now very different from someone in a wheelchair, but it's just as difficult. And as I said, I remember the days when I had a drop foot walk. How is accessibility? It must also be difficult for you in terms of, I mean, you have to park close by, I'm sure. Are you still driving?
Oh yeah. No.
So you must park close by, and I mean, from that point of view, you must share the frustration of persons parking and disabled parking. I heard the other day, Andrew, the spokesperson for the MDFSA, was saying, Andrew Miller was saying that there's a joke amongst disabled people that it's better to park further away than at the disabled parking, because those disabled parkings are so narrow, and the gradient is very difficult sometimes to walk across. It's not level. It's not exactly level. Do you have that same problem with it, or are you a little bit more adaptable?
No, I think in the areas that I go, the disabled parking are generally wider. So I haven't seen it as a particular issue. It's not as if I have a wheelchair that I need to offload some other people. But generally it is wider. I would very often, for instance, today I went to the mall and I didn't park in the disabled parking. I parked just on the other side of the road. And when the guy came to me, because he saw the sticker on my car, when he came to me, he said, "Why don't you park here?" I said, "No, somebody else with it might need that extra space." But the frustration with disabled parking is sometimes that you've got people that just park there, but, as they say, stupidity is not a disability, but some stupid people still park in areas where they shouldn't be parking.
Yeah, I can tell you that I've got a combi, and I still drive myself as well, but I've got a lift that takes me up and down, and it takes up 2 parkings. So I inevitably park far away, and I take my own cone with, and I put the cone there. And I can tell you that since I've been doing that from 2021, I have not had one problem with anyone taking the cone away or giving me any. So my stress levels in terms of parking is it's a lot. It's probably it's the same as yours. But I think other persons with wheelchairs who have to struggle and get out there, it's quite a challenge. I also want to ask you, engagements with the MDFSA and other organizations and awareness. Do you get involved with that, or is it something that you that you still want to get involved in?
Look, I mean, yeah, I attend some of the webinars, and for instance, there was about, I think it's must be about 2 years ago, when they adopted the Dutch that booklet, the brochure on FSHD. I took it upon myself to do the translation of it from Dutch to both Afrikaans and English at the time. So yeah, I'll get involved with that type of thing. But I'm not a regular campaigner. I've never been, for any causes for that matter, where I would go and knock on doors. I don't do that type of stuff. But the behind the scenes stuff, I'm happy to help with if need be.
Yeah, I've got a similar view. I mean, wherever I can help with my skills, I do. And if it's behind the scenes, I'll definitely do that. But now that I know you are a businessman, what I want to ask you is advice for those persons who want to start a business but have a disability. I think that you can give very good advice and guidance. What you know, in my life, I've always said I will focus on those things that I can do, and then not get too bogged down on the things that I can't do. And I've got my I've got the things that make me get up every day and take on these challenges. But I have never had my own. I invest and I do things like that. But I've never had my own business, and so I have no idea what that would be like if you are a disabled person and you have all these limitations, and now you have to, run a business. And I mean, it's for me personally. I'm not an entrepreneur, so I'm interested in what your views are and what your advice is to persons who really want to do that, or they might not have any other choice but to do their own thing to make money because they need to survive.
Yeah, I think it's an extremely difficult question to ask because it comes back to what I said earlier, that with any business you have to manage your resources, and if you are the entrepreneur or the person heading up that business, obviously you will be one of the biggest and the most crucial resources in that equation. And in the process, you have to take cognizance of all your the weaknesses as well, your typical SWOT analysis. What are the things that will prevent me from contributing certain things? And, if you are intellectually not up to it, don't try and take on a high-tech environment if you're not skilled in that. If you are disabled, you're not going to become a professional marathon runner like Gerda Stein or the like. But within your constraints, within your limitations, obviously, that opens up the opportunities. The reality is that a businessman, an entrepreneur, very seldom will be hampered by our type of condition. Now, I don't know why I hesitated when I said condition, but we don't. There's a lot of things that we can do without it influencing our lives at all. As the MD of a company, you can go ahead and you can do anything. There's nothing that prevents you from running a business with FSHD or limb-girdle for that matter, or even Duchenne, even though Duchenne has got some, possible, terminal situations attached to it. But there's nothing that in my condition that's ever prevented me from doing my job. Nothing. Yeah. Sometimes you can't get up the stairs, but then you arrange for the meeting to be held downstairs and that type of stuff.
Oh yes, I've had to do that many times, and I remember I've even had the privilege of kicking Exco out of the top boardroom at times because they knew that or the boardroom where there wasn't a lift, because they knew I would
They
have
had to accommodate you.
So yeah, so sometimes I could override Exco
Yeah,
in certain situations. But yeah,
exactly.
yeah. But thank you so much. I think we've only got a few minutes left of the time, but I think that you've given us a lot of information and ideas, and I was particularly interested in the business side of things. So thank you so much, George. We'll hopefully we can do this again.
Anytime.
Yeah, then we can talk about the similarities between business and disability, and what you can learn from disability to better your business.
Exactly. You know, the reality is that from any situation in life, you can learn, and you can take lessons out of uh, a condition like FSHD, in terms of how you adapt to situations. Because in business, sometimes the environmental conditions might not necessarily be good for your business to be sustainable in the long term. But that's why you have to adapt. With a disability like ours, you have to adapt. Listen, I'm not going to be able to walk around the way I used to. So I need a mobility aid, or I need a wheelchair, or I need a stock, a kitty, or whatever you want to call it. Exactly the same in business. If things change, you have to adapt to it, and you have to find, I don't want to, in business, you don't call it a cure, but you have to find a strategy to adapt to that particular environment or
Yeah.
to that particular situation.
Strategy for a solution. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Well, thank you so much. Thanks a lot, George, and have a great day.
Same for you, Marinus.
Thank
Thanks.
you.